Good afternoon and welcome to Healing the Brokenhearted. I'm Dale Pugh. That's West Ragsdale. And like I say, every time you tune in, thanks for watching. Uh, we're talking about God healing people's hearts. And there's a verse that says, a joyful heart does good like medicine. That is
Yes,
one of my favorite proverbs. So, Wes, what do you have for us today about the healing joy of God?
a lot. First of all, I think it's very important for everyone listening to the podcast to understand what joy actually is and the difference between joy and happiness, because they're not
Mm,
the same. So, first of all, just a simple statement: joy is a deep feeling of great happiness. It is delight or emotional well being. It goes beyond simple pleasure or momentary happiness. It is often described as a lasting sense of contentment, a fulfillment, or inner gladness
mm.
that can arise from meaningful experiences, connections, or accomplishments. In short, on the emotional side, joy is a strong, uplifting feeling of happiness. On the psychological side, it often comes with peace, satisfaction, and gratitude. And here's for us: on the spiritual side, it is seen as a profound inner state, not dependent on external circumstances.
Wow, that is
And it
powerful.
is one of, if actually it's listed as the first fruit of the Spirit.
Wow.
So, what is the difference between joy and happiness? Well, happiness usually comes from external circumstances: a good meal, a gift, a fun outing, success at work. It is often conditional. That is, it's dependent on things going the way we like them to go.
And in the word happiness sounds like happening. It kind of
Aha,
they're similar, how words are put together.
exactly. But joy doesn't need any of that. Joy comes from within and can be present even when things are not perfect.
Mm.
It's tied to meaning, connection, gratitude, or a sense of peace, not external events. Now, in terms of its length of duration, happiness is often very short term and fluctuates with moods or situations. Joy is more enduring and steady. It can last through ups and downs because it is rooted in deeper values and beliefs. Happiness is surface level emotional response, i.e., laughing at a joke, feeling good when praised, and all that stuff. Joy is a deeper soul level contentment of gladness that may not always look outwardly exuberant, but feels profound on the inside. In short, happiness is an emotion that comes and goes, while joy is a state of being that endures.
Wow, that is something else.
It is. Here's some examples of everyday life. Happiness is eating your favorite ice cream on a hot day. It makes you smile and feel good. Joy is sharing that same ice cream with someone you love or someone you care about and seeing their delight. That fills you with a deeper sense of warmth even after the ice cream is gone.
Mm.
Another example: happiness is getting a promotion at work that makes you feel excited and accomplished. Joy is this: mentoring a colleague and seeing them succeed, even if you don't, brings a deep sense of fulfillment, whether or not you get recognition for it.
Wow.
Another example: families situations. Happiness is receiving a thoughtful gift from a loved one, makes you feel appreciated. Where joy is simply sitting quietly with your family and feeling connected and loved. And this gives you peace that goes beyond the moment.
Wow.
In everyday life, happiness is, here's one that a lot of people do: They buy a new gadget or a piece of clothing and it makes them feel good. For what? Joy is taking a walk and feeling grateful just to be alive, which brings a sense of contentment that lingers. And in my case, it's this simple. It's especially in the wintertime when I go in the kitchen and I can turn on the water tap and I get tears in my eyes every time this happens. And I can turn on either cold water or hot water without having to go outside and get kindling and build a fire and go to the creek and get the water out of the creek and all that. It's right here all the time. We in this country are living like kings and queens, and we don't even realize it. And you should enjoy the moment.
Well, that phrase that you started with, the explanation, the word thankfulness and gratitude were included in those.
Exactly.
And, my mother was one of the most positive people I knew. And the day before she passed away, the last thing she said to me, Dale, I'm so thankful. That's what she said.
God bless her.
That was the last thing she said. I'm so thankful.
I'm so thankful.
And I said, I love you, Mom. And she said, I love you. But the last thing she really said to me was, I'm so thankful. And then she was sitting in her chair and she just fell asleep and woke up in heaven.
Amen. I love that. See, that's the way it should be. So in short, happiness comes from, quote, what happens, while joy comes from what matters. That's a really profound statement. Here's a clear side-by-side comparison of happiness and joy with different situations. In Christianity, happiness is worldly, based on blessing, health, or success, where joy is a spiritual gift. It is the fruit of the Spirit, rooted in God's presence, enduring even in times of hardship. In Buddhism, it's linked to happiness is linked to desire, craving, and external conditions, and fleeting, where they say inner peace and contentment is joy, which arises from mindfulness, compassion, and freedom from attachment. In psychology, they say that happiness is a short-term emotional response of pleasure, excitement, and positive moods, where joy is a long-term state of well-being rooted in meaning and gratitude, connection, and purpose.
Wow, a long-term state of well-being. Long-term. We could even put eternal in there, Wes, because
absolutely,
in the presence of the Lord, there is joy for how long?
Unspeakable and forever.
Wow. Forevermore.
Forevermore. In short, happiness changes with circumstances. Joy endures through meaning, virtue, and faith. And then here's another. In modern day world, Christianity is worldly based, and blessings and health and success. It's a spiritual. Oh no, I read that. Pardon me. Excuse me. That's it. So that's the definition and the difference between joy and happiness.
Well, Wes, I can see we're going to have to do a whole other program just on all these examples, because we've already talked 9 minutes just defining the word joy. But let me say, please tune in next week. And I'm going to give one little short story, and we're going to just go right ahead and do another one on joy, because Wes has defined it. But I knew a man who was persecuted terribly by the Chinese government for his work in gospel. And they took him and they put a band on his hands, and made him do hard physical labor for over 120 days. And then he still wouldn't do what they wanted. Then they put him in isolation for about 120 days, and he still wouldn't do what they wanted. So they gave him a 23-year sentence in a work camp. And he told me, he said, Dale, the more they persecuted me, the more joy I felt. When they let me out after 23 years, they thought I was crazy. So it's almost like you're saying happiness is, involved in our circumstances, but you can have joy in spite of your circumstances.
That's it.
So Wes, you got one more thought before we close and see them next week?
well, I'm ready for next week. We're going to talk about it in terms of this, that the joy of the Lord is our strength.
Okay, well, please tune in to watch that one, and we will see you next week, same time, same place.